think, Chris, do we think about Doge and the hundreds of thousands of jobs that Doge got rid of last year? All of these federal workers still haven't found work. People have lost houses. People have had loved ones that have died because they don't have health care. Like, even when you think about, am I a person that believes there need to be border security? 100%.
Of course.
But think about the brute.
It's funny when people keep mentioning the Doge cuts, that they let go a couple of people because they weren't needed, like the DEI officers and all these departments that are just wasting money. They don't say anything about the 11,000 jobs that Microsoft just dropped because of AI. They don't talk about Marvel and Disney, the thousands of jobs that they just dropped because of AI. They don't say AI, but that's because it is. They pretty much deleted their entire home department. That's gone. There's jobs all around the country, engineers, mechanics, farmers that lose their jobs. People like Charlamagne don't give a shit about that. They don't talk about that. They don't ever mention that because they don't care. They don't even care about these people that are losing their jobs. They just feel like this is a way to attack Donald Trump. That is it. It's wild to me. The most wild thing that has ever been protested. Doge. Actually trying to save taxpayer money. Everyone that I've ever known, liberal, conservative, middle of the road, have always said government's wasting our money, they're stealing our money. Liberals used to protest about it more than conservatives did. And then Doge comes in, they start making cuts, and then everyone loses their shit because it has something to do with Trump. And they have TDS, and they can't think clearly because they're mentally ill. And TDS is a mental illness. So when people like Charlamagne, who's rich as hell, and they're, these poor, he doesn't give a shit about these workers. He doesn't care. And he never did, and he never will, because he's well off, he's rich, and he doesn't care what happens to you or happens to me. I could lose my job tomorrow, he ain't gonna tweet about it. The farmer down the street could lose his job, he ain't gonna tweet about it. He doesn't give a shit. He's just trying to think of things to use for political fodder against Trump. That's it.
100%.
Of course.
But think about the brutality
of
how some of these border policies have gone down.
Of course. But the question is, are you saying that it's justified because of it?
No.
So it's like, so that's how it's going to be consumed. Like, I don't think you're justifying it. But if I was somebody who doesn't know you, I would go, oh, he's saying that he deserved this and he made people get this radicalized through his thing.
I think we have to deal with the reality that some of these policies have hurt people so much that some folks are willing to risk it all.
Well, now
I just want to say our family business was never doing worse than it was under Biden. Gas prices were never higher than under Biden. We had 20 million people crossing the border from Biden. People forget those videos of bulldozers literally lifting up the fences to let people pour in, these illegals, these murderers and rapists and child traffickers and sex traffickers coming into our border. We were never worse off than we were under Biden. I never tried to kill Biden, and I would never advocate for that in a million years. It's never even a thought that processed in my brain. Like, oh, MAGA's the... I've never thought about hurting Biden or anybody on the left, even though I find so many of you so despicable and sick, and a lot of you just outright evil, truly bad guys, villains. But I don't want to hurt you. I don't want anyone else to hurt you. That doesn't give me joy. That doesn't make me feel happy. I don't feel any kind of positive reaction towards that, and I never will.
Oh, well, you gotta understand. People are hurt by these policies. People are hurt, and they might want to kill Trump. I'm not advocating for violence. I'm not advocating, but some people might be really upset, and they might try to shoot Trump. I'm not saying shoot Trump. I'm not saying. But some people might want to do it. I'm not saying that, though. I'm not saying that. Some people might want to do it.
This guy's a freaking retard.
To risk it all.
Well, now you're justifying it.
I'm not justifying it. It's just a reality.
But now you're justifying it.
It's just a reality that you have to deal with. Am I? You feel like I'm justifying it, Miles?
No, I think you can extrapolate out that, like, was Osama justified? Not justified. Was like Timothy McVeigh, all these other like political.
You're making the argument that people make about Bin Laden, which is, well, if America wasn't doing this shit in the Middle East, then Bin Laden wouldn't have done it.
I don't know.
If Ruby Ridge and Waco didn't happen.
I'm just saying that is the argument that they would make.
I just think that we would be remiss to not take a step back and not just have conversations about violent rhetoric. Let's talk about violent policies that people have been watching over the last year and a half, and how a lot of people have been hurt by those policies.
A lot of people are overusing that word violent rhetoric. Trump has never called to assassinate Joe Biden or any of these other candidates. Joe Biden literally gave a speech specifically to talk about how people like me, I'm a mechanic, I work in a small town, small family-owned business, talking about people like me that were violent extremists, that we are literally the evil human beings of this country, that we are the greatest. What do you say? MAGA is the greatest threat. I've never seen anything like it from any Democrat or any Republican in history. I've never seen a president go out there and make a speech specifically based on just demonizing more than half the country. He did that. That was the whole point of the speech. Wasn't talking about economics or anything else. He literally, let me make a whole big speech with the red, so with the red flames behind him and everything. And CNN tried to like dull the color, which was amazing, just to demonize half the country. These are evil. These are demons. And then when people try to kill people like Charlie Kirk, you got people during the 2020 riots assassinating MAGA people. You had that drive-by shooting, killing MAGA people in that parade. Nobody talks about all these individual cases. They forget. They weren't trying to stoke the flow. Did they talk about violent rhetoric? What did Trump say that was violent? We need to secure the border? That he doesn't want rapists and child sex traffickers in our country? That journalists are scum? Since the beginning of time, left wing and right wing said journalists are scum, but then they find it so offensive when Trump says it. It's amazing.
And how a lot of people have been hurt by those policies. Of course. And some of those people are willing to risk it all. Because to your point earlier,
I was saying also, Andrew is kind of a retard. He tries to be like that, like super, like non-PC, like comedian, all that. But what does he mean? Of course what? Of course what? Violent rhetoric? Of course. Of course. Of course what? Give me an example. That's what I would ask. Give me an example. Give me an example of something that Trump said that was like, okay, that is worth assassinating him over. Just one.
Willing to risk it all, because to your point earlier, they don't have nothing else to lose. At least in their mind.
Sure. But I guess what I'm saying is we still go, it's wrong to do that.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, like, you still have to deal with the reality.
But you and I both know from knowing people that are crazy that it actually doesn't take that much to get certain crazy people to do things.
Can you be driven crazy? You lose your house, your grandma dies because, you couldn't afford health care. Your grandma been living here her whole life. She gets deported to some country, or your wife or somebody that you love gets deported back to a country you've never been to. Can you be driven crazy?
Not deported back to the country they've never been to, deported back to their home.
You can be radicalized for sure. I think there's a lot of proof for that. Sure, but again, it's like...
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you, let's deal with the reality of it instead of just dismissing everything and saying, oh, this is fake.
There's no but. There's no but. You can't. It's like the people when they're talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination, to be like, what happened to Charlie Kirk was horrible, but it's like, no, there can't be no but. It's horrible, period. Trump was shot and a firefighter was assassinated. 2 other people were shot. But if you're using the word but afterwards, then you're justifying it. That's not my opinion. That's just a fact. Trump was shot. That's a horrible thing. But no, then you're justifying it. Some guy just tried to kill Trump at a correspondence dinner. That was horrible, but you're justifying it. Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck, but it was like Ilhan Omar, when she was talking about Charlie Kirk's death. It is horrible what happened to Charlie Kirk, but we must remember. But if you're saying but, then you're justifying it, and you don't give a shit, and you're an evil human being. That's it. It should be like, this is horrible. Period. That's it. Somebody was assassinated. That's horrible. period. If you got to try to elaborate on it and try to justify in some kind of way and go on a long monologue that Charlamagne, this blasphemous dude calling him the god, if you got to try to justify in some way and go on a long monologue, you're an evil person. You are 100% justifying it, and you don't care, and probably hope that it happened. Fuck this guy.